All right, we're going to do another video here. This one is going to be setting up rocker geometry on ratio rockers with the swiper foot style. These have the adjuster over here on the push rod. If this is a style, you've got the stock style. These are original VW ones here. Push rod here, they have the adjuster on the valve tip side. So if you have this style here with elephant's feet or with the stock adjusters, there's a different video that I did for these. They set up a little bit differently. So if you're working with these, go watch the other video. First thing, these are AA 1.25s. They end up measuring around 1.35 or so. Doesn't matter, they set up the same way. Decent rockers. So we're gonna go over how to set them up, what you're gonna need. I'll do some drawing on the whiteboard real quick to get the theory down, and then we'll go over to the engine and look and see how it is, or how it all works. You're gonna need adjustable push rod. I put this one together, just an old piece of aluminum with some tips in it, and then I threaded it with a jam nut. Angle finder, digital works good, and one that resets itself is nice to have. There's a couple different, well, you can do a mag base indicator too. You'll need something like this for sure. I did this here. I made this little foot that sticks off the side. These tips unscrew, and you can, this is just a little piece of angle here. And I did that so you can project it and hang it off the side of the retainer over here. It gets to be too much stuff in the way and it's hard to reach. Sometimes on Amazon, you can usually get a kit with one of these in it, and they come in with a bunch of different tips that screw in here. Some of them have a bend that'll do the same thing as this. And then I also made, I found this in the scrap drawer, but this works good. You can unscrew your jam nut here, and this is set up for the stock style rockers. These are bigger diameter here. You can screw this on here like this. Oh, some of the scats have a bigger diameter. These are AA, but the scats have a larger diameter thread here. So I put this on here like this, so then when it's over on the engine and you're swinging back and forth, you can stick your angle finder on here and it'll show you what your angles are. Pretty handy, easy way to do it. Yeah, we'll get the whiteboard and draw some pictures. At the whiteboard here, one thing I forgot to mention was you're probably going to want lash caps. These are little hardened steel caps, and they slip over the tip here. They'll help change the geometry, and a lot of the valves aren't hardened on here, so your swiper will wire right into these. So this protects the tip of the valve, gives it a wider base to sit on so it doesn't wear out quite as bad. There's a bunch of different ones. These are AA, CB sells some, Scat makes some, a lot of different people. One thing that's different on them is the thickness of the head from the top here underneath there. These AA ones are about 75 thousandths. I think CBs are 88 thousandths. And that kind of helps. We can go over that on the engine, but it'll help you set up your rocker geometry by varying the thickness of these also. All right, so here's what we got. Rocker arm, valve spring. This is our lash cap up on top here. Push rod and the adjuster. This is the rocker block that everything sits on. The goal here, this thing is going to swing like this as your cam runs your push rod up and down. The goal here is to make the angle at full lift, when the spring's compressed all the way, we want that to be equal to the angle at no lift, just like on the stock style rockers. We measure our angle over here at the at the push rod end. That's where my steel foot works. That's where we bolt on over here. So we'll check our angle on this side. So when we go through with everything, measure no lift, it'll be sitting like this. It'll say, we'll just say 10 degrees. And then go to full lift, and that's with our indicator sitting on the retainer over here. So we can measure, we can see exactly where we're at. So, and then full lift, we want this angle to be about 10 degrees also. And then at half lift, this is the important part, at half lift, where it's flat, we want 0 degrees. We want this the adjuster here to be in line with the push rod. We want everything to be straight through. We can adjust the angles that this throws by changing the distance from the center line of the rocker shaft to the mounting block on the head. If you need it lower, you can machine some off the block. Some guys will machine some off of the mounts here, but they're kind of hard and hard to work with, hardened steel. So we will, I'll show on the engine how this works, but important part, half lift, we want everything in line here. And then I didn't draw this up very well, but at half lift, we also want the top edge of our lash cap. We want it to come straight across and intersect with the center line of the shaft. That's ideal. So this would be a 90-degree angle here, and then a 90-degree angle here at half lift. Okay, so what we do when we start setting it up, we will take our lash cap on our valve. Sharpie works good, but I'll just cover a little bit of the lash cap. This is dry erase, but I'll use Sharpie on the real engine. And what it'll do is it comes by and it'll swipe the Sharpie off. What we want is, we want it to be as close to center as possible, right across the middle. We want our swipe mark to be right dead center in the lash cap, and we want to try to keep it as narrow as possible. We can adjust all this. When we first set it up, it'll probably be way down low, and that's not what we want. If it's swiping down low over here, as the rocker arm comes by, it's going to put a bunch of load on the valve stem. As the rocker arm swings this way, it's going to put a bunch of load over here on the valve stem, and that's going to push into the guide, and it'll wear the guide out. So if we keep it centered over the tip of the valve, that minimizes the load each direction, and that'll keep your valve guides lasting longer. So goal center here, and our goal is to have half lift intersect with the center line of the rocker shaft, and that'll make this in line and that in line. And we got to make sure our angles that it throws are equal both ways. No lift angle, full lift angle. Okay, so on the engine stand here, everything's sitting here. Cylinders in, cams in, cranks in. I've got, these are light duty checking springs. We only need to do one cylinder here, unless you got something really screwy going on, but your engine should be the same, both halves. I have a lash cap on here. We'll do the exhaust later, but yeah, and then most all the ratio rockers come with a little bit longer stud, so that's what's in here now. I'm going to take my angle finder here, I'm going to set it on the rail, and we need to swing the engine over to 9.5 degrees, and what that is the valve angle inside the head. And we want, ideally we want the valve stems to be standing up perfectly straight with the world. Getting closer. Adjustable stands are nice. There, 9.4, 9.5. It's really, this angle finder's touchy, so it's hard to get it exactly right. So when you get it really close, you can zero these angle finders. Okay, and then we'll have it set now. I'll go and we'll put all my rockers on, or I'll show you how everything sets up, and then we'll start doing our angles. Okay, so I got my indicator set up here. It's bolted down, my rockers are bolted down. This is a coupling nut. It's 8mm on both ends. I just use this. It's an easy way to get a flat plate out here. This is just a plate I had. Oil pump covers work good here. They're just easy and flat, cheap to get. My brackets bolted on here, indicator stuck in. One thing you got to watch is the stem of the indicator. It needs to be parallel with the valve stem in this direction and in this direction. So make sure it's standing up here and here, both parallel with the valve stem. If you get it tilted one way or the other, it's going to start reading wonky numbers for you. There's that little foot that I made, and it just rests on the side of the retainer over here. And then I went and I put red Sharpie on my valve, or my lash cap. So what we're going to do, our angle finder here, pretty close. We're going to put it over here. It's reading 12.8. This is at no lift. So we're going to roll the engine around till it's on the base circle of the cam, zero our indicator, and then we're going to turn it over, turn our flywheel over so everything moves, count our turns, and this is going to be our full lift measurement. There it is. So that was 5 turns, and it's 529 thousandths. We'll just call it 530 thousandths. That's our full lift number. Our angle's at 10.1 now, full lift. Okay, so we'll go back around. 12.7. So we need to make those two angles the same. We're going to check half lift here now. That's our 530 full lift number divided by 2. There's 100 thousandths, 200 thousandths. If I did my math right, it should be right about there for half lift. Okay, so now half lift is 1.3. And if you look here, it's hard to get in there and see. There. You can't hardly tell, but our angle on our adjuster stem is not in line with our push rod tip. And then one other thing I like to check is I've got this, it's a feeler gauge, and I take it, and it's hard to do one-handed, but I put it in here, slip it underneath the valve stem, between the valve stem and the rocker there. And what that does, it's a 5,000 shim, so we got to come back here and readjust our half lift number. But what that does is there, that projects a line over so we can see our half lift number. We want that shim to be in line with the center line of the rocker shaft. And if you get it just right, it looks like our rocker shaft is a little bit low. That's an important measurement there, the half line of the rocker shaft. So it takes a little bit to wear the Sharpie off. But we'll spin the engine over a couple times here. And we're going to see what it does for a swipe pattern underneath our rocker arm there. Okay, so let me just see if I can get it to zoom in, and there we go. Okay, so you can just barely see there where the Sharpie's starting to come off, and it's a little bit low. We want it to be more towards the center. So we're gonna make some changes here. What we can do is we can lift up the rocker shaft with shims underneath our rocker blocks here. And what that'll do is it'll tilt everything this way, and that will make our no lift number decrease. It'll tilt this way, and it'll make our full lift number increase, which is what we want, because the other one's 10 degrees, this one's 12.7, and our half lift number is a little off too. So lifting up the back end of the rocker shaft will help that angle. It'll also pick up the center line of the shaft at half lift just a tiny bit, and hopefully it'll take our rub pattern on our lash cap and move it slightly upwards. So I'm going to take everything apart, I'm going to add some shims, and we'll do it all again. All right, so I put a shim in underneath the rocker stands. Hard to see in there, a little gold thing. There's a bunch of different ones. Usually they come with the kits, but a lot of times they don't. This is what they look like. The black one here is 25 thousandths, and then the gold one is about 50 thousandths. I put the 50 thousandths ones in. CV sells these in, I think, 3 different thicknesses. So if you get rocker arms, if they don't come with the kit, you might buy a selection of these because you might need to swap them in and out. So I got everything, same thing set up before. Everything's done there. It's at 0 lift. One thing, when you change anything here or you change anything underneath here, you have to readjust your push rod. And you push it down and then push your rocker down and then lengthen your push rod because we added the shims under here. So you got to make sure you do that. Take all the lash out. I've got it sitting on the base circle of the cam right now, so there's no lift. Our angle here is 10.4. So we're gonna swing it around, and changing the shim stack underneath there can also change the ratio a tiny bit. So you need to double check your full measurement or your full lift number here. It's now lifting 525. That's full lift. So our number over here now is 12.1. So we're about 2 degrees off right now. So 1 degree to fix it, 1 degree off one side, 1 degree off the other side. We're gonna go back around to 0 and then back to half lift now. 100 thousandths, 200 thousandths, and half of it is about 262 or so, right around there. And our number now is 1.1 at half lift. If you look right here, our adjuster is a little bit hard to see, but our adjuster is getting in line now with the push rod. And then if we take our shim and slide our shim stock in here, see if we can see it now. Our shim stock, which is right here, where is it? Right there, is pretty close to in line with our center line of our shaft. So there's a couple little things we can do here. We can go to a little bit thinner shim underneath the rocker block, and that would pull it back some. Or we can put a thicker lash cap under here, which is what I'm going to try because it's a smaller increment. We don't need to go a huge amount. We just need to adjust it a little bit. So we're going to try that. One thing we need to check here is how our swipe pattern is doing. It's looking pretty good. Can't get it to focus. All right, so there it is. Anyways, it's looking pretty centered. We're gonna make a couple little adjustments here. I'll do that and then I'll test it again. Okay, what I did here, I switched out the lash cap. The other one was an AA lash cap. They measure about 80 or 78,000, 75 thousandths thickness under the head. This is a CB lash cap. They're 88 thousandths or so. So it's only like a 10 thousandths difference, 10 or 12 difference, but it's a way to fine tune your angles. So I put that in there, readjusted my push rod again, took out all the lash, readjusted my 0. So now we're gonna check full lift. And now it came down a little bit. So now it's only 520. Check our angle there while we're there. 520. So our angle is 11.5 degrees now. Go back around to no lift. There's no lift. Our angle is almost 11. There we go. So we're only a half a degree off between full lift and no lift, and that's what we want. So now we're gonna go check half lift. Half of our full is 520. Full lift is 520, so there's 100 thousandths. 260 is half. Our angle, 0.7, pretty darn close. Now, take a look here. Adjuster lineup, pretty darn close. And then we'll do our shim stock check on the other side. And then we gotta go back and readjust here. There's our shim stock right there. And it is pretty close to center line of the rocker shaft. And that's exactly what we want. Take this out and check out our swipe pattern. And a lot of times you got to roll these over a bunch to get it the Sharpie to start wiping off. Hard to tell there. Let me roll it over a whole bunch more and see if it'll wipe off better. If you get the Sharpie on too thick, it's hard to get it to come back off, wipe off easily. Let's see what that looks like. There. So now you can see it's pretty much exactly centered over. That little dot's a good indicator there, but you can see the high side on the up and the low side on the bottom, and it's pretty centered over the lash cap. That's pretty much exactly what we're after. So we're gonna call that good. Now we can take it all apart, take our measurement here on our push rod, measure that and get our push rods cut. One thing you gotta watch, these on the ratio rocker style, this is the cup that goes on the other end there for the push rod. They got this oil slot with an oil hole in them. And there's a oil hole in here also. And you can measure from the bottom up with your pair of calipers. There's a cross drill in here. And that, you have to make sure you're staying within that range where the oil will still feed through the rocker, through the adjuster, through the push rod. If you get it way out here, you're going to be blocking it off and it's not going to be getting any oil, or way up here, it'll back up. So make sure you're still within that range on your adjustment. If you need to, for some reason, you can go in and you can cut some of these threads out here to make more room for yourself, but just something else to double check. So that's about it. Angles, make sure they're the same. Full lift, no lift, zero angle at half lift, and then make sure your push rod or your lash cap tip is intersecting with the center line of the shaft. If you get all those things right, it'll come out really good. You'll have minimal wear on your valve guides. One thing I forgot to mention about this, when you're doing an engine, when you're building an engine, never put the thing together fully without doing this. Like, a lot of guys will go and they'll get so excited, they got the crank to spin, all this other stuff, they'll come and they'll start sealing up the engine and put their cam lube on and seal everything up, but they haven't even looked at rocker geometry yet. Don't do that. Do the whole engine first, all the way out here. What you're doing, if this is your first shot here and you might not have all the right parts on hand, shims and stuff, you're gonna have to spin this engine over maybe 100 times. And if you have that cam lube, your break-in lube on the lifters, all you're doing is wiping it off, just trying to get your rocker geometry figured out. So make sure you mock up the entire engine before you go using any sealer. Like, I mock these things up all the way out to the valve covers. Check everything, all deck heights, all of it, before you use any sealer anywhere. Don't go sealing this thing up just because you got the crank to spin nice. That's the wrong way to do it. Full mock up all the way, and then tear it all back down, reseal it, or clean everything, and then you can start building it up. And then you'll also know at that time that everything will go together really smooth. A lot of times, if you jump the gun, you start putting it together without doing any rocker geometry first. A lot of times these head studs here will get in the way of the rocker arms. I don't have this one in over here, but that one there hits the bottom of the rocker arm a lot of times. And if you have your head studs all installed, you sealed up the back sides of them and you did the case sealer, but now your rocker or your head studs are too long. So now you got to cut head studs to make sure they're not hitting anything. So put all your head studs in, mock it up all the way out here, rocker arms, check it. And then when you get ready to do your final assembly, everything will go really nice and smooth. You don't have anything to worry about, no hiccups popping up, nothing weird. That's it. Rocker geometry, ratio rocker style. I'll be doing some more videos here soon on the rest of the engine build stuff. I'm going to do a bunch of little videos on small topics here. So subscribe to the videos. Thanks.